Welcome to the Mind Body Business Show. The 3 keys to your success is just moments away. Here's your host, Brian Kelly.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Mind Body Business Show. Oh my goodness, I am so excited. We have an amazing guest coming to us all the way from Osaka, Japan, live here tonight in just a moment. I cannot wait for you to meet him. Getting to know him myself before the show, and got to tell you, this is an amazing gentleman, and he's going to bring a ton of value, and we might just have a little bit of fun to boot. Would that be all right? I think that would be good. All right, the Mind Body Business Show. What is that all about? For those of you that are new listeners, it is all about 3 pillars of success. And the thing is, I started to recognize over a course of time in my life, as I began focusing on those entrepreneurs and business people that were successful. When I began focusing on those people, I started realizing that there were 3 things that kept coming up over and over and over again. And it was like patterns to success. And what I realized by talking to them, interacting with them, taking seminars and workshops with them, speaking from their stages, working with them side by side, that these 3 things are what you see this show is named for. It is mind, body, business. Mind, that is all about mindset. Those with a rock solid, powerful, unstoppable mindset tend to be the ones that are more successful than others. So those who are successful that I studied, that I worked with, had all of them, to a person, a rock solid mindset. And there's a beautiful science that can help you develop that if you don't have that already. And that is called neuro-linguistic programming, or NLP for short. We may not dive too deep into that, if at all, tonight. We cover different topics each show. We're definitely going to go down the trail of business for sure. Body, what is that? Well, successful people take care of themselves. It's just true. You won't see every single person on the planet that you look at with the eyes of they're successful because they're rich. There are some that really don't take care of their body. We know who they are. We can think of a few right now. But predominantly, those who I focused on, they all did. They cared about their body. They took care of it. They nourished it with the proper food, and they worked out. It's more than a 4-letter word, exercise. And the thing is, the mind and body, they are a team. And even more importantly, the mind and body are your team. And then let's add to that one final component, and that's business. So folks that I've noticed that were successful over my years were masters in not just mind, not just body, also in business. And business itself is multifaceted, isn't it? It's sales, marketing, systematizing, team building, scaling, all those things. So these people that I met that were highly successful and studied from all had mastered all of the areas of business. Now look, I get it. We only have certain talents, only certain God-gifted talents. By mastered, they either themselves had the talent in certain areas, and they also delegated to those who did have the talents in the areas they didn't. And that is a form of mastery in its own right. So they had mastered mind, body, and business. And that's the purpose of this show, is to help you and to show you entrepreneurs, successful and maybe not successful yet, to take it to the next level. And that's what it's always about, is striving to the next level, no matter where you are. You could be on top of the world successfully. There's always more. There's always more. And that's the beautiful thing about our life on this planet. We get to continue to improve to the very end. That's what makes it exciting. And I remember it was many years ago, actually. Now it's getting to be more and more as time goes on, that I had a mentor. I was actually in his office in the East Coast. I was flown out there. We had a deal to discuss. He flew me out there, picked me up in a limousine. It was a wonderful experience. I sat in his corner office, giant office, bigger than most people's apartments. And I was there for 2 days, 2 full days. And I remember during one of our conversations, kind of casual, I was sitting on the couch in his office, and he was talking to me standing up. And he said, Brian, if people only knew, if they only knew, if they just did this one thing, if they just did this one thing, they would all become rich. And I remember thinking, well, I'm ready. The student's here. Come on, teacher, what is it? And so at that moment, he turned around and slowly walked back to the wall behind him. and there was a cabinet from floor to ceiling with two doors. And he went back, grabbed both handles, looked back at me, and opened them up. And what he revealed and what I could see was very similar to what you see behind me right now. It was shelf after shelf after shelf of books. And we're not talking just any books. These were very focused. It was on personal development. It was on business, finance, anything and everything to help him to succeed. And the interesting thing is, at that moment, I'm watching him in utter disbelief. I kid you not. I'm like, serious? This is your big secret to becoming rich and successful? Reading books? Anybody can do that. This is my internal thinking going on. So what did I do? I absolutely ignored this sound advice. Big mistake at that moment. And literally did not read a single book for years following that eventful moment. Thankfully, I continued working with other successful entrepreneurs and business people, and it came back full circle. I was working with a gentleman and speaking from his stage very often, working with him on a daily basis. And I remember being in his place one time, and he's walking around with headset on. I say, "Hey, man, what are you doing?" And he kind of lifts it up, and he says, "I'm listening to a book." And I said, "Wait, what? You're listening to a book?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "Well, how did you do that?" And so this was several years ago, and he said, "Well, it's through this app called Audible." I said, "I got to check this out." And so I did. And I realized the moment I started listening that I loved to learn in this modality of audio versus reading a physical book, where I would literally drift off. I'd get tired and fatigued. My eyes would start hurting. I didn't enjoy reading that much until I was shown this amazing app called Audible. So I started reading voraciously by listening to books on Audible. And a beautiful thing about Audible, one of the things they provide is the ability, while you're listening in real time, to just tap a little icon. And when you do that, it instantly stores what's called a bookmark, much like a physical paper bookmark you would slip inside of a book where you last read, where you left off. Well, this way I can store multiple bookmarks and then go back later and go directly to those bookmarks and listen in again. So now, instead of reading a book multiple times, more than once, from cover to cover, I only have to read it cover to cover once, and then subsequent times I can go back and just visit the bookmarks for the highlights that I knew had impact on me and for me. And so what I'd like to do tonight, as I do on every show, is share one of those specific bookmarks with you. And this has a lot of meaning because it's right down the alley of what our very special guest, Mr. Adrian Shepard, and I are going to be discussing this evening. So to that end, I'd like to segue over to a little segment I appropriately named Bookmarks.
Bookmarks. Born to read. Bookmarks. Ready, steady, read. Bookmarks. Brought to you by reachyourpeaklibrary.com.
Yes, Reach Your Peak Library. And by the way, for those of you watching, listening, whatever your mode is right now, because this is syndicated all over the place through live video now, recorded video later, and through podcasts, audio only, all over the place. If you're watching or listening, no matter live or recorded, please stop what you're doing and get up a pad of paper and a pen and start taking notes. I cannot implore enough to you the importance of doing that. My mentor taught me this, and I didn't used to take notes either, that many. And once I started taking notes, my retention went way up. I continued to retain the information. And it's a habit I have to this day. In fact, I will be taking notes during this very show that I am the host of. And I will show that to you later. So take notes. And it could be on your computer. If you're watching on a computer, pull up a notepad or whatever your application of choice is, and just take notes. And by that I mean stay with us. We're going to be talking about resources as we go. And rather than, succumb to that desire to go check it out right then and there, just take the note, write it down, reachyourpeaklibrary.com, and later after the show, go check it out, definitely. So real quick, reachyourpeaklibrary.com, what it is a website I personally put together, and it is basically a compilation of all of the recent books I've read that have had profound impact on me, one way or another. Personal development, business, finance, the very thing that the gentleman who opened his cabinet showed me. I'll bet many of these were in that cabinet. And it just goes on and on and on. I think I have around 40 in this list, and I actually am falling way behind. I probably have closer to 60 total that need another 20. The good thing with this is it's a one-stop shop for you if you're either just starting and you don't know where to start reading, or even if you have been reading and you're like, well, I wonder what else is out there. I'm always curious. For those that are voracious readers that are successful, what do you read? That's next on my list. I have several set up that I've downloaded already in my Audible app that are waiting to read. I'm just going right through them one after the other. And the thing is, I did this for you, not for me. This is 100% for you, the entrepreneur, the business professional that's looking to get ahead in life. Because I learned the lesson the long way. I shouldn't say the hard way, the long way. I waited years to start doing this. No regrets. I've caught up pretty well, I would think, by reading many, many of these books. And what I wanted to do is take one specific book that I read that's on this list that is really pertinent to our guest coming on. So let's switch over to that right now. So as you're watching and listening, get ready. It's about a minute in length. And I'm just going to play it. You're going to hear it. And go ahead and take notes as you listen to Stephen R. Covey from his book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Here we go. Take a listen.
To begin with the end in mind means to start with a clear understanding of your destination. It means to know where you're going so that you better understand where you are now, and so that the steps you take are always in the right direction. It's incredibly easy to get caught up in an activity trap, in the busyness of life, the thick of thin things. To work harder and harder at climbing the ladder of success, only to later discover is leaning against the wrong wall. It is possible to be busy, very busy, without being very effective. People often find themselves achieving victories that are empty, successes that have come at the expense of things they suddenly realize were far more valuable to them. People from every walk of life, doctors, academicians, actors, politicians, business professionals, athletes, plumbers, often struggle to achieve a higher income, more recognition, or a certain degree of professional competence, only to find that their drive to achieve their goal blinded them to the things that really mattered most and now are gone.
Isn't that so true of so many of us? Yours truly included. At times, we get so caught up in just being busy without a real focus or outcome in mind. And we think that we're achieving a lot because we are busy. Oh, I'm so busy. Well, that was like held above your head like a trophy of some kind. Like, hey, it's great to be busy. But it's not great to be busy unless you have laser focus on what you are trying to achieve at that moment. And why I'm so excited about this passage, this bookmark, is that our guest, who's coming up right about now, is an expert in productivity and time management. So I cannot wait. In fact, we're not going to wait any longer. Let's bring on our special guest expert.
It's time for the Guest Expert Spotlight. Savvy, skillful, professional, adept, trained, big league, qualified.
Yes, and there he is, ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, Adrian Shepard, all the way from Osaka, Japan, live with us right here and now. How are you doing, Adrian, my friend?
I'm doing well. Thank you, Brian.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us from way across the pond. So excited to have you here. Real quick, what I want to do is give the folks a quick background about you for those of that didn't read his bio on all of the many areas that I put it, but in my team. Adrian Shepard started his career as an ESL teacher in Japan. That stands for English as a Second Language. I looked that one up. I did my homework there, Adrian. But today focuses on consulting with individuals and companies on productivity. His background in education helped him develop the One Byte time management system, which is a revolutionary new system based entirely around simplicity. I love the way this man thinks. Small bites that people can digest easily. Adrian is based, as I said at the opening of the show, in Osaka, Japan. It is about 10:47 in the morning as we do this live. And real quick before we jump in, I apologize. It's kind of like a tease, right, Adrian? But I wanted to let everybody know that at the end of the show, stay on to the end of the show. Why? Because you will have the opportunity to win a 5-night vacation stay at a 5-star, lots of fives, Mexican resort. All compliments of our wonderful dear friends at powertexting.com. Jason and Rhonda, I love them to infinity and beyond, I guess. I was trying to think of something different. So, with that, Adrian, man, that's a cool, quick intro about you, and we're going to get deeper and deeper into what makes you tick. And on that note, maybe we start there where, you know, as an entrepreneur, as someone who is out there basically starting on their own and then ultimately building and scaling their business, you know, it can be a daunting task. And it takes a lot of drive. It takes a lot of motivation. It takes a lot of perseverance. It takes discipline. It takes a lot of really cool things. And I was curious with you, Adrian, like when you get up out of bed, you know, and you get up, you're waking up, you're rubbing your eyes, your feet hit the ground, and then it's go time. What is it at that moment, or maybe shortly thereafter, after you've kind of cleared the cobwebs, that you feel is driving you to take the next step in growing your business and helping more people?
Great question, Brian. You know, you said that the entrepreneur's journey is sometimes tough, and you know, there's no joke about that because, I mean, when you decide to go down the entrepreneurial path, one word resonates with me, and that's roller coaster. I mean, you'll have days where you think you're on top of the world, and there's days when, you know, you just can't do anything right, and it can be frustrating. And so one of the things you need is a strong mindset and a positive mindset. So for me, actually, it's not that hard because I think of always one number, and it's a very important number for me. It's always changing. And the number for me today is 5,145. And what is that? Well, that's the amount of days since my life was almost taken from me in the tsunami that hit Thailand in 2004. At that time, you know, I wasn't sure I was going to make it. And yet here I am. It's been almost 15 years now. And I feel so blessed and honored to be here. And so for me, that's what I start with. I just appreciate that I have another day to be able to contribute, to be able to share ideas with people, to make a difference in the world, to help my family, to help my son with his homework, to see my wife succeed, to see my clients do better. And really, you know, that's for me, I just appreciate each and every day for itself. And that's one of the things I do first off. After that, I do a little light exercise to really calm my mind and get rid of all the noise maybe that I have in it. Just, I want to focus on something. You talked about laser focus. Absolutely. You want to start that right up front to get your mind in the right mindset or frame for the whole day. And really, that's how I get going.
That's phenomenal. Phenomenal. I love it. Starting your day off with gratitude. Wow, that's an amazing story. The tsunami in Thailand. Holy smokes. Yeah, that's something to definitely be grateful for, to survive something like that. Absolutely. Yeah. And I hear this very often of very successful entrepreneurs like yourself, and that is a key element. You know, so the patterns we talked about the opening were mind, body, business, and we're in the mind segment at this moment. And that is definitely one of them. So if we chunk down and get more detailed into each of those areas, this would be one of those areas that I see as a pattern of successful people just like you, Adrian. And that is, you know, starting your day and continuing your day with what we call an attitude of gratitude. So right on point, perfect. And then the exercise to kind of shake off the physical cobwebs, and it releases the stress. And it just starts your day so fresh and new and energy, you know, minded. And on that note, because, you know, I love fitness myself, if we dig a little deeper into that, in the fitness side of it, for you personally, how important would you say physical fitness is to you, your business, and also your personal life?
Wow. You know, in my youth, I would have said not that important, because I just kind of thought, you know, my body was fine and everything was okay. But over the years, I've learned that's unfortunately not the case, because as we get older, life takes its toll, and our body definitely feels it. Last year, I actually had sciatica, and that really was a pain. I had never experienced something like that, and it took me months to shake that off, and I never want to go back there. For me, it's really the key, because you can only, and I love this quote by Jim Rohn, who I consider to be one of my mentors, even though I got to talk to him once on phone, but I listened to his audio podcasts, his audio CDs, and read his books over and over and over again. And one of his quotes that he says is, some people don't do well because they don't feel well. And how true is that? I mean, when you've got a cold or the flu, or you hurt your leg, I mean, how productive can you really be? Your focus goes to that pain, and so many of us don't do preventative care. We do after the fact care. So after we have the injuries, then we go to the doctor and say, hey, cure me. Well, okay, doctor can do so much, but it takes time to, whereas if you just took the time each day to just stretch and release those endorphins, and you increase your chances, reduce your chances of hurting yourself. And that's, professional athletes know this. And I think, although most of us on this line, on the call today, are probably not professional athletes, but we should treat our body like it's a professional athlete. I mean, this is the vehicle that we have to do everything. When this goes down, everything goes down. So, for me, fitness has become a big part of my life. And I do some martial arts, I do some stretching, and I do a little bit of yoga. And it's definitely changed everything about my life and my business.
Yeah, it only changes everything. That's all. Yeah, I agree. Fantastic. It was like you were the billboard of my company right there. Thank you so much. That was phenomenal. And I love the quote that you just brought up with Jim Rohn. Some people don't do well because they don't feel well. And that's, again, and you're stating it in different words about the mind and body being a team. So in this case, you're talking about the body not feeling well. So when that happens, that affects your mind. It's directly tied. Think about, don't go back there. Remember a time, but don't go there, when you had pain somewhere in your body and what that felt like to you emotionally. Because, which I talked about, neuro-linguistic programming by one of the co-founders. His name is Richard Bandler. And he would say something to the effect of bad feelings, bad decisions, which means bad results. Good feelings, good results. And he, at that moment, is talking about just your attitude in your mind and the programs you're running inside. Nothing at that moment to do with physical pain that is driving those negative feelings. It's all about feelings. The mind is the baseline, the cornerstone of everything in your life, everything. And if your mind isn't straight, you're not going to go work out. You're not going to exercise. It all starts with the mind. And this was an epiphany for me personally. When I realized and learned this at a deep level in my training with NLP, I was like, my goodness, this is it. This is the key. And once I learned it and then put it in practice, everything started falling into place in unbelievable ways. So I recommend everybody listening to reach out and find someone that is proficient in NLP and get more information. You can reach out to me or you can Google. Either way, do it. Either way. So very on point, because it straddled, it started with body, but it also helped me to remember to go to the mind as well. Very on point. Would you consider, we talked about all these books, and their importance, which I now know is so important. My goodness, I had no idea what I was just scoffing at and shoving to the side, thinking that, hey, I could just go to the library and check out a book for nothing. There's no skin in the game for me, so it can't be this easy. Well, it is that easy. You just have to do it. So for you, Adrian, do you consider yourself to be an avid reader? And if you do, what book are you reading, or what's a recent favorite that you just finished?
Wow. I can totally relate to what you just said, Brian, about not really realizing the importance of reading. And when I was young, in school, I read because I was forced to, and books that I really had no interest in reading. And as soon as I got out of that, I was like, okay, I'm done. I don't need to read that much. Just, maybe a few mysteries or Agatha Christie's, which I really enjoyed. But besides that, I was like, yep, I'm done with that. And when I was in my 30s, I ran into some business trouble, and so I looked for answers, and I didn't have anybody I could talk to. And so I thought, you know what? I bet somebody's written a book about it. And so I started reading, and I became a voracious reader. I've got, like you, I've got a library of about 700 books, all business, personal development, self-help. And it was definitely, mind blowing, the difference in my life from reading these books. You just, realize so many things that, these people have been there and done that. And you're like, wow. And just sometimes quotes that stand out in your mind that just can change your life. There's the great quote by Harry Truman, who said, not all readers are leaders, but all leaders are readers. And I was like, wow. When Tony Robbins mentioned that, I was like, oh my gosh, that is so true. I mean, you go into, a CEO's office, and on the back wall, you'll see books. Why is that? I mean, it's a hint, and just as you said, you've just got to do that one thing. You've got to take the time, and you don't have to do it through book form, but you can do it, as you said, through audio and audibles and things like that. That's a fabulous way to acquire knowledge. I also like YouTube as well, just to let you know.
Yeah.
As for books that I'm reading, one book I just finished, which is a fabulous book that most people have never heard of. I was introduced to it by Dan Kennedy in one of his lectures, and he talks about thick face, black heart. I can't remember the author's name. I think Chin-Ning Chu or something like that. It's a difficult name for me, but it's a fabulous book. Brings a lot of Eastern concepts to Western business and everything. It's really deep, and definitely a great book to add to your success library.
What was the name, real quick? Thick face?
Thick face, black heart.
Okay. So thick as in not thin, but thick?
Yep.
Okay, just want to make sure I got that right, because I'm right. So, like I told everybody, I'm taking notes. Because I want to beef up my library. Whenever you get, so if I might interject real quick, Adrian, for those of you watching and listening, when you talk to someone who's successful, like Adrian, and they give you a book recommendation, get that book and read it immediately. I'm going to go to Audible right after this is over. This is what I do after every show. When I get a recommendation from a guest, I'm on it. If I haven't read it yet, I'm going to get it. It's going to be in my queue. I don't put it in my wish list. I buy it. It's a commitment. And that's another whole training for a whole nother day. But yeah, thank you for that. Thick face, black heart. And you can just search and usually find it without even knowing the author name, and just know it's a name that's hard to pronounce. You'll find it pretty easily then, right?
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
The other book I finished, is The Third Door. And that's also an interesting take on success and what it takes to, the journey of an entrepreneur and the setbacks that you'll come across. It's a great book. Yeah.
Yep. And I remember who that one was by?
No, I don't.
We have a lot in common, my brother, because when it comes to the names and authors of books, after reading so many, it's like, yeah, I'll just look it up on Google. I'll find it. It's cool. Appreciate that. I'm going to check both of those out. And I recommend everybody watching and listening do the same. Do the same. See, here's the thing, this is what I learned the long way, which was it doesn't take a ton of investment of money to get the right mindset, to get the right skills. If you read something and you learn it, the most important thing to do is to take action and do it, isn't it? Is to do it. It really serves you no purpose if you just read and learn. The next step is do, and there's one more beyond that, one more that will solidify it forever, and that is to teach it. And so, Adrian, coming from a teaching background, knows this better than most. The second you teach something, you now know it at a much deeper level, and it's almost an automatic, just press the button and it's there. And so, learn, do, teach is the 3 steps to mastering the material of a book. So do what you can to. So, if I may, real quick, one of my mentors, his name is Mel Cutler, by the way. One of my mentors who I worked with on stage, spoke at his events, he was a master at this. He would read a book one evening, and that next weekend would have a live event at a hotel, and he would teach on the topic. Amazing. And he did a phenomenal job, and he had everything ready, PowerPoint, and he's just an amazing man. And so That's one way you can do it. Set up a meetup, small meetings, get on live. Do a Facebook Live just of yourself and teach. Hey, I just read this book. I just wanted to talk to you more about what I learned from it. Simple. All right, that's my tips. I'm going to get off my soapbox. This is about Adrian. Let's see. What, you were there as an English as a second language instructor. And then at some point, something sparked in you and said, I think I'm going to start my own new business venture. What was it that ignited that spark? What took you down that road?
Destiny, I guess. No, I mean, like most entrepreneurs, something happens. And I think what happens is they get frustrated. They get frustrated with either their boss or their company policy, or they feel restrained or restricted by what they're able to do and how much they're able to help people. And they think to themselves, there's got to be a better way. And I do believe this about nearly everything in life. There's got to be a better way. We can always improve. I love the story about a man in, I think, the 20s who said that every great invention has already been made. And we can laugh about that, but there's always ways to improve. Even the greats can always even get better. Look at Federer and Sampras and all these famous tennis players or basketball players. They have coaches. Why? They're the best of the best, but they know that they can always get a little bit better. They need to work harder, and there's always something extra out there that can take them to the next level. And so for me, I just got frustrated and said, it's time, and it's not going to work here. And so I moved on to a franchise, and I started there, and that was great. But I just realized I wanted to make a difference in people's lives. Teaching English is great, but it takes many, many years of serious time and not money, but especially time. And that's hard. And I think the reason I love productivity and time management is I can go in, teach for 3 to 6 hours on a topic and really make an impact in people's lives, like that. Because simple ideas can be so profound if they're, as you said, used.
Yes, put into action, absolutely. And I appreciate your talking about the importance of coaches, because that is a topic near and dear to me, because we all have this 3-letter word that's lingering very heavily in us, some more than others. For mine, it's finally lightened up quite a bit, but it prevents us from achieving success that we want and deserve. And that 3-letter word is called ego. We think we can do it all. Look, you probably could do it all. I'm not talking about you, Adrian. Everybody that's listening. You could probably do everything. You have the gifts, the skills, maybe if you don't have the skills, you could learn it and figure it out. I've heard so many people say, I'm going to go learn how to do that. Like, why? You don't really need to. That takes a lot of time. Find somebody who already knows how to do it and either have them coach you on it or have them do it, delegate it. But don't do everything, and get coaching. Oh my goodness. I resisted that for years, just like the reading of the books, right? And the moment I hired a coach, and interestingly enough, he was in a similar realm as you, Adrian, in productivity, and he pointed out these things that were so obvious, so simple, but so brilliant, and they work so monumentally well. I was like, he's my best friend for life. It's amazing what a coach, because they give you a perception, a reality that you don't have. We're looking at it through tunnel vision, individually with our big egos, saying, I can take care of this, I can do it. Well, yeah. Do you want to take 7 years to complete something, or would you rather do it in 1? What is that worth to you? How much money is that worth to you? Hire a coach. Pay a coach to help you. Pay someone like Adrian. He's in Japan. Look, he's awake. If you're in America, he can work with you. He can work international. Look at this guy. He's got it together. I love it. I love it. I'm having a ton of fun. I hope it shows. Yes. One topic we talked about, the difficulties of being an entrepreneur, the struggles, the trials. You have to have really, really solid mindset to continue on. I mean, how many times have every one of us thought about, I'm done, I can't do this anymore, this was the last straw, jeez Louise, when is it ever going to turn for me? And for those that do not ever quit and keep persevering, they might be 10 feet from gold at that moment and just not know it. So been there so many times. I'm sure you have too, Adrian. I mean, I wouldn't want it any other way. It's exciting. You know, it's like the struggle. And then when you achieve and overcome the struggle, then there's going to be another one. It doesn't go away. Spoiler alert, the more successful you become, the more issues you come in front of. It's about how you react to them. But for you, Adrian, what I wanted to get at was, you know, as you're going through this progression of these, I don't know, speed bumps is a good word for it. What is something that, you know, we all have to do and spend our time being an entrepreneur, becoming successful, often at the expense of other things because we need to spend time on it. So for you personally, what sacrifices come to the top of your mind that you've had to make to become successful at what you're doing now?
You know, quite simply, I just had to invest the time to learn. I mean, that's basically the thing. And if I'm investing time into studying, I had to take it from somewhere. So one of the things that had to go were some of my hobbies, you know, I mean, video games or movies or TV shows. I mean, I love that stuff. But nowadays, I rarely, you know, do that. One show a day, if I'm lucky. You know, before it was 3 or 4 hours back in my, you know, 20s, and I loved it. And that, you know, 24 was one of my favorite shows, but today 24 would take me more than a month to get through. Before I could binge watch things, that's gone. You know, as you get older, there comes a time, I think, where you have to say, you know, what do I really want? Do I really want to just watch TV shows, or do I want to make a difference in the world? Do I want to help people? Do I want to do something for my family? Do I want to change my life? Do I want to write a book? Do I want to travel around the world? All these things you have to ask yourself, you know, you have to weigh them. Well, which is more important for me, you know, TV or traveling the world? I mean, to be honest, it's an easy sell when you put it that way. If you compare them, you know, I don't know what our vices are. I mean, everybody has them, and we love doing our hobbies, but we can just tone it down just a bit. Instead of, let's say, going rock climbing for 8 hours, you do 3 hours, and then 5 hours you've got there to spend investing in your future, building your dreams, changing your life. And so I just said, okay, those things have got to go. And I also started, you know, applying some simple techniques such as chunking, which is basically you take two separate things, and you do them at the same time. It's not multitasking. It's basically what you're talking about with Audible. You know, Brian Tracy says, turn your car into a mobile classroom. Yes. I mean, what great advice is that? Because our commute, I mean, in America, people spend 50.4 minutes a day in the car on the way to work. And yet most of the time they'll, you know, rock into Beyonce or, you know, jam into Metallica. Yeah. Okay. That's great. In a year though, that's 2,000 minutes, or I forget, I think something like that, 2,000 hours that could be invested in your better future. And all you have to do is just turn on podcasts. And I mean, a lot of them are free. You don't have to spend any money. And then when you get serious, you can get Audibles. You can get stuff like Jim Rohn or Tony Robbins, and just throw that in. And I mean, in my car, I have no music. On my phone, I've got like 60 gigabytes of personal development stuff. I have no music on my phone. Why? I just don't have the time for it.
Perfect. Yes. Oh my goodness. We could write a book on this one alone. And I'll co-author it with you if you want. So many great things you mentioned there about sacrifices. You know, you talked about the crutches that we often go to, or vices, I guess is a way to go to it. The good ones. I mean, hobbies and video games. There's nothing wrong with that at all. I mean, we all need downtime, don't we? That's fine. I went down a deeper path long ago, years ago. I started sacrificing and didn't know it, but I was sacrificing my marital relationship. And wow, what a loss that would have been if I had not been woken up, thankfully, by my wife and righted that ship. So if you start going down the, you know, ridiculous path like I did of, I mean, I I was upset when they said dinner was ready. You know, they being my wife and kids all saying, "Hey, Dad, come down, dinner's ready." I'm like, I got too much to do. Ridiculous. You have other sacrifices as well, and the key there was you were saying weigh them, and I use a term called prioritize. Right? It's what do you find it's the same thing. It's prioritize what is important to you. One of the sayings that I've heard is you can sacrifice. It's your choice. Would you rather get the short-term pleasure now, or sacrifice that and obtain the long-term gain, which would be much greater, much bigger than those short-term sacrifice or short-term pleasures would be. So that's exactly where Adrian's going. And then podcasts. Hey, I know of one. There's a really good one. It's called the Mind Body Business Show. It's there everywhere. iTunes, Spotify, Google Play. You should look that up. Not, everybody's listening. And then Audible. Yeah. So I love what you said about Mr. Tracy, Brian Tracy. I love his first name, by the way. That's exactly what I do. I listen to I listen to actually Audible books more than anything. And the thing is that you can make that icon for the bookmark really big, so it's ultra safe. I don't hardly have to look at it. I hear something, bam, I'm tapping on the screen. So yeah, golden nuggets. I really sincerely hope people are taking notes. Take notes, write this stuff down, because it may not seem like much to you right now as the reading advice I was given back years ago that I thought wasn't that big of a deal. Let me tell you something. Everything Adrian is saying is following those patterns, those 3 pillars of success in mind, body, and business. Everything he has said is the same patterns that run in every successful person I've ever met or studied. Kid you not. So take these notes and take them to heart, and then take action on them. We'll keep repeating that, because as many astute students know who've been through any of my live events on stage or otherwise, that repetition is the key to mastery in anything, mind, body, and business. It's beautiful. Ah, sweet. Oh my gosh, Adrian, no way. We're like 15 minutes out from the end. I never like seeing that. It's always goes by so fast. Oh man, I have so many questions I want to ask you. So a lot of times we will only talk about the great things, the good things, the victories, the wins. We touched on the sacrifices, so that's a little bit toward the other one. Let's take it a bit farther, and then we'll get back on the positive train here. But it's very important for others to recognize and realize that even those that have achieved success like you have are still human. We still make mistakes. And the cool thing is, to become successful, that just tells me right off the bat, you've learned from them. And that's how it works. If you don't learn from your mistakes, you will never become successful. So to that end, what comes to mind to you, Adrian, just thinking back, maybe recently, maybe a long time ago, what are some of the biggest mistakes you can recall that you've made in your journey as an entrepreneur?
Unfortunately, for me, I'm a trusting guy. I always have been. I believe in the best in people, and it's cost me a few times, quite painfully so. I've lost more money than I care to admit. I've lost friendship over it as well. Trusting people is one thing, but you've got to understand that, when it comes to business, you can't just, work on a handshake for most people. There are those people you can, and that's great because, thank goodness there are still those people out there. But most times, you've got to treat business, very, very seriously. It's like a partnership. That's, for me, went awry. We just basically started as friends. That's what often happens with partnerships. You get a few buddies together and, we're going to, change the world and do everything. But you've got to have a rock solid contract in place so that everybody understands just, the ins and the outs of pretty much everything. I mean, who's going to be paid and when and what, because if you don't have something written down that you can refer to, people will just alter things as they go. And oftentimes they alter them in their favor, and that's something that was quite shocking for me, because I always thought that, hey, if you're building a business with a buddy of yours, don't you both want it to succeed? But I realized that unfortunately people don't see eye to eye, and they just see what's good for them. And they don't see that it's actually hurting the other person or not exactly what the other person wants. And because you didn't hash it out in front, it can cost you big time. As I said, it cost me a friendship, and it cost me a lot of pain and suffering. But money was the least of the issues. But on the flip side, that's how I really got started on my journey of books, because that was the trouble I was talking about earlier. It forced me to go and look for answers. And, so that was one of my big mistakes. And unfortunately, I made that mistake again, trusting another person. And as Jim Rohn said, again, he says that sincerity is not the test of truth. A lot of people are sincere, and that's great. But they can still lead you down the path to failure if you're not careful. As you said, it's all about what people do in the end, and their achievements, and what they, how they succeed in life. I mean, I read this in a book somewhere. If Bill Gates called you up on the phone and said, "Hey, I've got a business opportunity for you," would you say, let me think about that. Let me get back to you, Bill. I'm not sure. This is not really a good time. No, I mean, Bill Gates, chance of success, pretty dang high. You should throw all your money into it pretty much. Well, but you can afford to lose anyway. But because successful people know what it takes, you've got to follow those people. That's why, you talked about mentors. Yeah, find people who've been there, who've done that, and can guide you through the process. Because it will, if you do it all yourself, or try and do it all yourself, it can take years off your life. So yeah, I mean, that's my mistake, trusting people sometimes too much.
And it's a fine line, because you need the help. So you go to people you trust, and then you trust them. And you just have that heart where you're looking to make things work better for them first, and then you think about yourself second, so that it's a win-win for everybody. And like you said, not everybody thinks that way and is driven that way. I can relate to, I know at least one incident like that. And, no catastrophic things happen, and we're friends to this day, but it did result in the completion of something we were working on together that was really cool. It was actually going to be a smartphone app, and really nice guy. In fact, I just met with him a couple months ago up in the St. Louis area, and just had a blast talking with him, and we were sharing old stories. But I can relate so much to you. So there's this fine line, and what it really comes down to, which I know you're an expert in with your productivity training and coaching, is one word, and that is communication. There's different forms of communication, one being a contract that you write out and sign. And so there's expectations are known ahead of time. I've made the same mistakes, Adrian. So I love that you brought those up because it helped me to remember those mistakes and further solidifies not to continue to make those in the future. And that's the beautiful thing. Like I said, it's how we react and learn from those mistakes. Obviously, you've done that. I went through more than one as well. So sometimes it does take several. You think, well, this person will be different and better. And like, wait a minute, this isn't working. I'm going to stop doing this. Oh, my goodness. Okay, this will be fun. So oftentimes I'm asking the questions, and you and the other guests are just answering, but I like to turn the table a little bit and just basically say, Adrian, if you had a question that you wanted to ask of yourself on this interview, so what question would you have liked me to ask you that I haven't yet? And then go ahead, you can be the host and you can be the guest all in one. How's that?
The question I would ask myself, I think any successful person, I think I've got to ask them, if I've only got 1 minute to talk to them, I'd probably say, what's the best piece of advice you could give me? I mean, that's basically, if I'm never going to see them again, it's my chance, you got to take a nugget away. And I think I would ask that of everyone, including myself. For me, I think the answer to that question is tough. I've gone back and forth over the years. But I think I've settled on the concept of, balance. You need balance. You need to take care of your family. You need to take care of your business. You need to take care of your health. They're all important. You've got to take care of your clients. You've got to take care of your son's needs, your needs, everybody's needs. It's not, you don't want to focus too much on one thing, although, we should become specialized in something, but we can't lose the big picture. I know you said you had trouble because you were focusing so much on your work that you were neglecting your family. And that is, to me, is a person's really successful if they've made all the money, but they've lost their friends in the process or their family, which can be devastating. And so for me, I think, balance is the thing. We neglect certain things in our life. And later on, at first, it doesn't feel like much. It doesn't feel like it's going to cost us. But over time, that neglect builds up. And that neglect can really cost us as we get older, because it's just built up so much, whether it's stress or neglect or just not taking care of the people that we should. So for me, I believe in balance, and that's where it all begins.
Balance is key, as I personally found out the hard way, because, thankfully, though, again, I was confronted, and thankfully my ears were open big enough to go, I don't want to lose this. This is the most amazing woman on the planet, and I had 2 amazing, beautiful kids. I still have them. They're just not little bitty kids anymore. They're grown young adults. So yeah, balance is very, very important. It's so important, and it's a nonstop job, to keep that balance going, because you're working very hard in your business. You also are working very hard to maintain your relationships, and being one that's willing to sacrifice, to be flexible, to make decisions that help both of you, and sometimes at the sacrifice of you working on your business. It goes both ways, and you're so right. Well, we'll get into this later. There's one question at the end I'm dying to ask you, because it's a doozy. It's a big one, and we'll get to that in just a moment. But what I wanted to find out is, a lot of times I hear this thing like, well, if I had it to do all over again, I would blank. For you, you don't look like you still look very, very young to me. You don't look like you have many years under your belt. But going back to a point where, just pick a point in your life, what would you go back and change and do differently, knowing what you know today?
Great question. We all, like look back at the life and go, I should have done that earlier on. And for me, when I started on my journey, I wrote a book called I Succeed, and that's where I really got everything going. But at the time, I had a mentor, and blogs were kind of hot, and so he said, just write 2 blogs a week or more if you can on the topic of personal development and self-help. And I thought, okay, I can do that. So I wrote, I think, about 500 articles on my own page. Some great, some so-so. But I was just motivated to do it, but I didn't get much traction. And later on, I read a post on Facebook by one of my mentors, Kimanzi Constable, and he talked about how he was using online publications. And I thought, I've been writing for my own blog and I'm not really getting it out there, but they've already got an audience. All I need to do is tap into it. All I need to do is, write to them and see if I can contribute and share my thoughts through their publications. And that really helped me in so many ways. Number one, they have editors, so they can go over your material, and you can learn and improve and edit things as you go. If you're doing your own blog, you might not get the feedback that you need to help improve. And the other thing is, as I said, they've got the audience. And on top of that, when people type your name in, you'll hit the search engines like that. It's great. I mean, my name, Adrian Shepherd. Okay, I'm competing with Half-Life character, Adrian Shepherd, and I'm competing with a British cellist who died in 1960 or something like that. But if you take a look and you just type my name in, I'm on the first 3 pages of Google. You'll find my name, I think 10 entries or so. I mean, that's not bad, and all because I shifted from doing it on my own blog to using these publications.
That's amazing. That's a story about leverage right there. And Absolutely. It's the bottom line was you just didn't know what you didn't know, right? And I kind of chuckled when you first said I didn't get much traction, because that's the age-old problem, isn't it? It's like we're told to do all this effort and work, and that's a lot of posts, 500. God bless you. And but then to hear crickets on the other end, nobody's reading, nobody's commenting. The thing is, people tell us how to do the end result, but they never tell us the way to get the traffic or the eyeballs to the result. And it just drives me nuts when I see this on stage at seminars, at workshops all the time. Do split testing, do a funnel, write some great ad copy, use these colors. But hold on, how do we get people to come to see the website to begin with, please? And that's all too often left. So I think I'm going to have a chat with you after this is over to find out what some of those resources are, those online publications. That really piqued my interest big time. And everyone here, if you're open to it, Adrian, sharing it with them if they ask on this video or later after we're done in the recording, I'll leave that up to you to respond. I hope you respond to me though. Okay, this is it, the big question. It's something I've asked all of my previous guests on this show. And if it takes you a moment, Adrian, after I ask it to come up with the answer, cool, no problem. Because it's really going to be your answer. And it may take some thought. And I'm really excited to hear what yours is. But before we get to that, I want to make sure that I let our audience know who's been hanging with us live this entire time that there is still a way to win that 5-night vacation stay at the 5-star resort in Mexico. And here's how you enter. There are 2 ways. One is you can go to the web, type in the web address, reachyourpeakllc.com/vacation. That's reachyourpeakllc.com/vacation. Or if you have a smartphone, this might be the best way to do it. If you're, say, watching on a laptop or a desktop and you have a phone nearby, grab your phone, go ahead and do this right now and text the word peak, that's PEAK, to the number 661-535-1624. Again, text the word peak to 661-535-1624. A winner will be drawn randomly. We may do it right here on the show before we depart, so do that now so we can monitor our line and see who that great winner is and announce it right here on the show. Go ahead, do that now. Keep us going so you can hear, because you don't want to miss Adrian's response. You don't. And by the way, again, it is sponsored by powertexting.com, and those resorts are top notch. It is not a way to get you to go see a timeshare presentation or anything like that. They are top notch. So go ahead and enter now. Good. So we're going to come back with Adrian. And Adrian, so this is that question that everybody is leaning in now. They're all leaning forward saying, my goodness, what is this question going to be? Adrian's over there, kind of wiping the sweat off his brow going, gee, many Christmas, what is this question going to be? It's going to be a bombshell. All right, I'm going to let you off the hook, because here's the thing, Adrian. There is no such thing as a wrong answer to this question. In fact, it's absolutely the opposite. The only correct answer is your answer. Sound cool? So you can relax, let the shoulders down, and just get in the moment. And then here we go. Are you ready?
Hit me with it.
All right, Adrian Shepard, how do you define success?
I don't think there's a better definition of success than I think the one that Tony Robbins said. And I'm trying to let myself off the hook here, I guess. But, he says success is doing what you want to do, when you want to do it, with who you want to do it, and how you want to do it. I mean, how can you improve upon a quote like that? I think I'm paraphrasing maybe, but, success is what is unique for each of us. For some people, it's climbing mountains and, living, in the wilderness. And for some people, it's, a high-rise apartment and, multi-million-dollar deals and, moving and shaking and all that stuff. And for other people, it's just seeing their kids succeed. I love my son. I love my family. But I'm also very motivated personally because I want to achieve great things as well. I want to help people do great things. It's what drives me. I love seeing people change their lives. And that's why I do what I do.
And true to form, every single time, So here's the thing I didn't share with you earlier, but there has not been one guest before you who answered the same way you did. And no two have answered that question the same way. Isn't that interesting? And the other thing that is common between all of you, including yourself, Adrian, is none of you stated the primary reason. In your case, I don't think you even mentioned it, that the primary reason was making X amount of dollars. It wasn't money-centric. And you're right. You're exactly right. Success means different things to different people. You know, as you were talking earlier about success, and you know, I was looking to achieve success and working way too long at the sacrifice of my relationship. Well, that is not success in my eyes. Even if I was making $1 million at that very moment a day, I'm not successful if I am ruining the thing that I hold nearest and dearest to my heart. That's mine. That's my picture of success. It may not be everyone else's. So thank you for that. Thank you for being so authentic. And it's okay that what Tony Robbins stated, it just helps you to verbalize the same thing you're feeling about success. There's nothing wrong with that. And then you went on and elaborated, which happens every time. That's the other thing I love about this, is the first thought comes out and then every guest, including you, elaborate. That's the part I always wait for. The first thing is not always the real answer. And that's the beautiful part. I love it. Okay, I wanted to give everyone an opportunity to connect with you. So very important, Adrian, what is the best way for folks to connect with you? Is it Facebook? Is it email, text, website?
Well, these days I'm on LinkedIn a lot. So if you track me down there, you'll find me. I think it's LinkedIn/I Succeed Book. I think you'll find me there. On Facebook, I'm also around. So Adrian Shepherd Japan. I think you'll find me there. You can email me directly at info@isucceedbook.com. I'm approachable. Just say hi. I'll see if I can help you out. I mean, I love to help people and see if I can make a difference in people's lives. So yeah, sure, reach out to me anywhere.
And it can't be more obvious to me personally that that's what drives you. You love to help people. I've got on the screen your LinkedIn page there, so people have an idea that, you know, hey, when I see this, I know I found him. He's got that cool profile pic, nice professionally done, nice smile, just like he's doing right now. I mean, it's like a spitting image, except he's turned one way. And yeah, he's on Facebook. I am so happy and so grateful that you came on this show. Adrian, I cannot tell you, just another example of a successful person revealing the patterns that helped you to achieve success. And I just love it because it's always a synergy. It's always a similar set of patterns, yet described in slightly different ways from your own experiences. That's what makes it so powerful to me. And I just appreciate you for spending the time all the way from Osaka, Japan. I mean, come on now. Arigato, or domo arigato, I think is how you do it. I don't know if the accent was anywhere near it, but hey, as long as it's understandable. It's funny, I'm proud of this. My wife is part Japanese as well, majority Japanese, and I love her two pieces. I love her so much. I won't go into that. I want to go down the personal train. I want to, though, because I just feel so wonderful about her. Anyway, Adrian, I want to say thank you and respect everyone else's time as well. That's it for our show tonight. Blessings to all who came on, who are listening or watching. And we will be back next week with another great edition of the Mind, Body, Business Show. Adrian, thanks so much, my friend. You have a wonderful rest of your day in Japan.
Thanks, I definitely will.
Thank you. And we will see you all again next time. Bye-bye for now.
Thank you for watching and listening. This has been the Mind, Body, Business Show with Brian Kelly.